Well, another week in the books. Time to check in with Superintendent Jessee from the Shelton School District. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Jeff?
Great. I saw this week at the school board meeting, two schools presenting their school improvement plans. Can you explain what those are again to the listener?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a state requirement that each school creates some academic goals so that you're moving student performance, and so they put together a plan that says, hey, we're going to go from this baseline score to increasing whatever, or decreasing whatever that goal is. They're traditionally very traditional. It's been around for so long, my entire career, so I just so used to them. But you have a thing where you increase the reading scores. For example, at OMS, Olympic Middle School, they're going to increase the number of sixth graders meeting standard. I got 31%. A lot of those are kids that experience COVID, to getting up to 37%, and they're going to decrease the number of kids that are highly attendance seems to be an issue overall for us as a district. Just trying to get more kids to come to school. It's gone up, but it's a challenge, and so they put those goals right into a school improvement plan for each of the 8 schools that we have here, and then they list, Jeff, the strategies that they're going to use to implement across their school to get to that goal. Those are the main moves they're going to do to get there. And just simply, we monitor, we talk about in that plan, how do you progress monitor, that goal, and then any adjustments you're going to make to get there. We submit those plans to the state. They do review those. And they're just, I call them the binding agreement. That's the thing that we say to our community, to, ourselves as a district, to the state. This is the goals we're setting, and this is the work we're going to make. And they are, like I said, a requirement. So they are a legal requirement, and it is upon us as staff to follow them.
So I can see why you would have those at the different levels, but you have one for each individual elementary school. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Every school has them, including our 3 elementaries.
So why wouldn't they be kind of lumped together as the elementary grades of Shelton School District?
Yeah, that's a great question. So each, we kind of like to break things down anyway. I mean, if we took all of the, said all of the elementaries, that for us is 1,400 kids. And a goal kind of starts to lose its value when you group too many kids together.
Okay.
And each school does have a common goal, because we do work as a system here. We have a strategic plan, our goals that go underneath the strategic plan. The work of district offices to support the strategic plan and the school's goals. We're all accountable to these. They're not just evergreen elementaries school improvement plan. They're everybody's. We do work as a system, but the school itself has some unique strategies they have, and they have unique populations. And so they follow those, they create those goals, and they move it. And it's just easier for the school to be their staff to focus on their students at that school as opposed to a larger goal. We do have district goals though, Jeff, on the strat plan. For example, my goal is to get all of the 3rd grade students across the 3 elementaries at least 43% or more meeting standard in reading and writing this next year. So we do have those goals. It's broken down by each school, and that's by law.
What is it about the Shelton School District you think that has the challenge for attendance?
That is a great question. When I look at the data versus other districts that look like Shelton, they have a free and reduced lunch number, they have multilingual special education. Districts that have a similar population, they do, there's probably about 8 districts across the state that are similar in population and size as Shelton. And they all started, since COVID, had a higher rate of attendance as a student body in their district, we were about 10% less. So that's where we started from, coming back from COVID, and we've had incredible growth. In fact, our growth is exceeds or at least matches any of the other comparable districts over the last 4 years for attendance. So, we're doing a better job getting them. We're just still lag behind. When you start behind, it's just harder to get to be a higher rate, right? At a precipitous level. So I don't have to your direct question, I don't have a real answer. I think it's cultural. There's just, for us, it's just this thing of like, sometimes attendance may not be as important in some places as it is in some others. I don't know. You gotta wonder. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to get them here and be warm and welcoming, but at the end of the day, also, I'm like, it's hard. You start having conversations with families. I don't know. I don't have always an answer for that. I know having to do that in other districts, some schools just have a harder challenge on attendance, and it's just part of the things that just happen to be part of the makeup.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just an interesting phenomena, really, honestly. And, when we talk to families, sometimes it's just like the habits, like Mary Johnson uses an example, mental health break. I'm like, well, mental health breaks, if you miss a couple days this month and a couple next month, and you take off 3 the next month, over the course of a school year, you'd be surprised all of a sudden you're missing 20 something days out of 180 days.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe we haven't done our job of making folks aware of just a couple days a month does make a difference. So if anybody's listening, those couple days a month do matter. And so, our job is to communicate that. And that's why it's a goal for all of our schools to increase attendance, because, obviously we have ownership in that.
Clinton Sherman, the finance director there, was presenting to you and the board as well on some fiscal numbers, as well as starting to lay out some of those replacement levy scenarios. Can you talk a little bit about what those were for folks who may have missed the meeting?
Yeah, so we have a renewal on our, it's called an EP&O. It's really EP&O levy. So for us, it's our education and operations levy that helps support a lot of what I think some people term as basic education, but it's really related to all of our staffing and our utilities and maintenance cost, and as well as athletics and activities. And then we putting out this renewal levy. So it's, taxpayers are currently paying this, and the 3 options are about the rate. Really is for the school board to consider what's the current rate, what's the, what are our options for it? And then obviously what does the average homeowner pay for it to, pay for the staffing, the athletics, utilities, the activities, all of those things. And so those 3 options, one is really kind of staying flat, but you're not going to keep up with inflation. The other one is keeping up with inflation. The other one is a slight increase in the current tax rate, really. So, one is a very flat, like current tax rate, and that's going to not keep up. Then you have one that keeps up, which means as assessed values, it matches it. And then the last one is a slight increase to exceed that, because we are getting behind in a lot of our current things like technology. We're way behind in need new updated computers and servers, maintenance. I have a lot of issues. We need new roofs. I mean, $1 million to get a roof on a school, like that has to come from somewhere, and the state's not has cut the funding. So that's why districts just like Shelton are more reliant on these levies. The ceiling is ultimately, though, Jeff, $2.50 per assessed $1,000 on each house. So that's the levy. No matter what district you are, out of the 300 districts in the state, you can't create an operations and education levy that exceeds that $2.50 again per $1,000 of assessed value on a house.
Shelton School District, over the many years that I've been following this, the station has traditionally supported these renewal efforts, but at the same time, without, relying on that past knowledge, how much are you looking around at the current climate, considering, North Mason has failed a few, Yelm has failed a few in a row now, and you're looking at that.
Well, we're going to find out next week. North Mason is going to have their second vote on a levy. And so, I wish them good luck for sure. And we'll see that. Yelm, it was tough. We run into them and some of the families there, and, it's $1,400 to play a varsity sport there, and you got to provide your own transportation.
Right.
So, those are the stories. And it's, I just think sometimes the news, doesn't do a good job portraying what's the real actual going on for public education. I think a lot of people are skeptical of government in general, and we recognize that. And I said, okay, so we're number one in the state for third graders, for growth for third graders over the last 3 years, third graders meeting standard in reading and writing. Number one in the state. Out of 300 districts, the Shelton School District is number one. We've decreased suspensions. We've increased attendance. We've got more kids on ninth grade on track, raised our graduation rate. So I like to say, what other better place to get a return on your taxes? So that's why I'm like, if you're skeptical of government and how's it providing you something, I say, well, the Shelton School District's doing a really good job taking the money we have, and we work in a lean way and get the most for the kids and families that are here in Shelton. And that's what they deserve.
I've seen you guys out, you've been at the trunk or treats, and you're this and that and the other thing. And when you explain it that way and somebody responds, yeah, but
sure.
What more can you do to, share with them, I guess, because there's usually a personal story behind it, Jeff, right? Like, what did you hear? What did you experience? What's going on? And it's our job to listen. What happened? Why would you think that? Right. And so most of the time, it's a situation that they heard something that is pretty wildly false. So, I can have to walk them through and go, oh, okay, so this is why, this situation, let me tell you some things that happened in this instance, why this occurred, why people did this and reacted this way. And here's what we do, because we, when I say, hey, we care about the kids, we want to educate them, we want to move forward and have a great positive experience. We all want that. I've yet to meet anybody who doesn't want that. At the same time, I oftentimes hear things about individual kids and their behavior, and I go, well, it's school, and we are here to educate the whole child. So it's not just to give them core academics, but we want them to be really outstanding citizens. We want them to grow up to be responsible and respectful and got some grit and resilience, welcome to life. And so, to giving, not just be a taker for your community. So we, I say, hey, if we want to do that, and if I just simply, suspend it or threw the kids away and then invite them back, which again would be illegal. But our job is to educate them, because what it is, they do become adults. And so the Shelton School District holds that responsibility, is let us continue to educate the whole child for that, because when they do go out there, we want them to be, employees or neighbors that are also giving and respectful and all those things. So that's a lot, but I just, that's usually some story about something about somebody is, and then I've had a lot of families turn around and go, I'm glad you don't punish the kids, because I do need my kid to be taught. And they have turned around. We have so many turnaround stories. It's pretty wild. Kids do some stuff that you're really challenging. I see it front and center. I saw it today when I was out at schools. At the same time, I look at them as a learning opportunity with natural consequences. And sometimes that is suspension for sure.
But we're going to invite them back and teach them so that we can eventually show them that you can trust other people. You are going to be held accountable, and here's some strategies and skills to be a better person, a better community member.
Well, we're moving into November, and there's a lot of folks that'll kind of start gathering around the dinner tables and talking about these things as we move into Thanksgiving and the holiday season. So we'll continue to update on things that are happening in the district and all the good, the bad, the this, the that happens out of the school district. Again, you're always welcome to check in on the school district meetings. They're live in person at Mountain View. They're also available on video stream, where it's more of just the passive watching what's happening. If you're there, you can make comment yourself as well. Superintendent Wyeth Jessee, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Jeff.